Alrighty, welcome to week 8 in CIT 85, HTML and CSS. I'm also teaching CIT 82, which I'm about to talk about. So for a moment there, I'm like, okay, which one am I in? All right, so at this week 8, I'm going to have this video that covers the topics for the end of the semester and just some general course updates. And then I'll have a separate video that talks about the graded work for this week. So, one of the things I want to suggest to you or help you understand as far as the way this program fits in the overall core program for web developer, and there's an AS, associate's degree, and there's a certificate of achievement. If you want to know about any of that, come talk to me. I'm the lead faculty for this program. And if you didn't remember, but that was week 0, I talked about that this program is in an of evolution, and we are moving this program to where it has both web development fundamental skills, which this course actually focuses more on that hands-on mechanic shop, we call it. But the program itself is also expanding to teach students how to use AI in their workflows. Okay, so it's an AI skilled. We're still working on the name, but it is going to change. So the reason I'm bringing it up now is that the course that was intended for you to take before this class was CIT 82 Intro to Web Development, which in the future is going to be called Intro to AI and Web Development. And in that course, I just want to show you some of the topics that you will get as far as the course content. Now, you got in the very first week how to set up your Git and how to set up CodeSpace. And for them, it was a little more gentle. So it may feel like at the beginning it's a bit of a review, which is not a bad thing after summer. Oh, did I mention this course is being offered at the first 9 weeks of the fall 2026 semester, not over summer, but at the beginning of the first 9 weeks in 2027 fall. Okay, so not summer, fall. Okay, so just be clear about that. And now, what you're going to learn in this course, in addition to getting a more general introduction to the topics that you've already have covered, so it's a really good time to kind of say, okay, how well did I get those concepts? But you also get to learn a prompting technique. It's called AIM, action input mission. That's right. And so it's a technique that I actually got from this great video, and it's really, and the students actually use it throughout the semester for a lot of the work, but it really teaches you to use AI more intentionally in that concept, right? So they also have a project, but they actually, instead of you coded it completely by hand, they learned something called Bootstrap. Okay, and they actually start that here, but they also learn about how to use other websites to write a prompt to create code, because we all know in the world that we live in, code generation is just a thing. Okay, there's downsides, there's good sides to almost everything in life, including that. And so you learn about MDN. We've barely talked about it, I think, a couple times in this class, but that's something they use to do a scavenger hunt and AI learning. They remix something they learned in the free code camp, which is an online site I use for that. And then in this case, they also use, instead of like you did, the hand code, they used a framework called Bootstrap, where they use that to make things responsive, to where this week you're going to learn some really important topics that we'll cover next about how to actually make things responsive and to lay out content. Okay. They did a project. Okay. They found a template. So in addition to learning Bootstrap, they went and found a template that they implemented. These are really good skills on top of what you've already had. They analyze the template they got. They plan it. They have an AI sidekick that helps them implement some things into their projects. And then in this case, they have AI search. So AI search. So right now, if you're searching Google, right, we have all been up until the last, 4 years used to using Google as to get results. But now we see that, of course, searching is becoming more common, or as common, I should say, or in addition to, we see using LLMs, these chat bots, these generative AI to do search to search for things or ask questions to find things. So we learn about how search engine optimization, which is a very common thing that's been intact for years to help people create sites that are better crawled by the web, to also enable that through search. And then they build just the basic beginnings of it. And they also cover AI ethics in digital Wild West. Now, the reason I'm bringing this one up is for this class, we touched on how to generate images, but we didn't touch too much on how to optimize and the ethics of using generated images. And I want you to know in this class that you're in right now, when you're using generative images for educational purposes, it's fine. But if you were actually being paid to do a site, you definitely want to rethink that, okay? Because on a commercial site, there are restrictions that you have that you want to make sure you understand. Okay, so they also get a module about e-commerce. They build out their projects. They look at the future of online shopping, cloud computing, and so there's just a sample, and they get a brief introduction to JavaScript form validation. So what's my point? My point is that even with the stuff you've learned here, it's still a great idea to go take that course. So I'm promoting to you my own course because I'm the one who teaches it at the beginning of the fall 2026 semester. Okay, enough of my commercial. I hope you consider it. So for this class, I want to talk now about the end of the semester dates because we are at the beginning. You may have gotten here a little early. If you did, congratulations. That's a great thing. So there are some really important things you want to understand before we get into the final week of the semester, which is next week. Okay, so I'm actually going to pull this aside, and this is actually, if you've never used the course menu, I hope you actually have. I hope this is not the first time you've seen it, but I'm also going to bring this over because I want you to have both up because it can really help you see what we're going to be talking about. I'll put me in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to roll up. So this is actually the day I'm recording this. So what you can see is I'm ahead, right? I actually just am working on week 8. I did the videos already for here. So for this week 9, so we're rolling now, we're looking forward into week 9. So Tuesday the night, so Tuesday, so here's Monday. Okay, so let's just look, right? So Monday of the last week of the semester, the 18th, right? You do have attendance. That's not on this list. That's just normal things. And it's probably the only thing that falls in our normal schedule as far as when things are due. Okay. Because the last thing that you have, which is your last project step, there'll be some things you'll need to update your project to include. And you will share that with the class. So that will be due here. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So obviously, really important topics. So now Thursday, so I'm going to jump over. So here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday is actually the day this project is due. And I'll just jump over this to tell you it's actually due at noon on Thursday, the 21st. I've actually pushed it back a little bit to give you just a little more time. But the idea would be the sooner you get it done, the better. Because the other thing is Thursday of that same day at 8 in the morning is the last day. Oh, sorry, is the last day. Did I cover? Oh, I missed this one. Okay, so I'll come back to that one. The last day to ask me to review your project works for the final, your project work for the final share. Okay, just because it gets crazy at the end of the semester. So if you submit early, of course, I can give you that feedback. You can reach out and ask me if I didn't see it. But that's the last time at 8 in the morning, because at noon on that same day, which is Thursday, is the last day to let me slow down. Right. So it's actually that noon is both the last item for the semester, which is that final share out. Matter of fact, you can see it here. I have modified it to be 12:29, okay, a.m., okay, it's not p.m., So that's what's important. It's noon is that final share out. But in addition, that's a last day to submit any work in the course. Okay. So just be careful that you're not waiting until Thursday to try to do this if you have other work you're trying to get done. Okay. Because the other thing is on Tuesday, and now that I am looking at this, I realize I probably need to switch this around, but it's the last day to submit late work. You could still submit that, but waiting until that point, and also because you could use late passes here. If you didn't know about late passes, they're listed in the syllabus. You have two. If you haven't used them, you can submit, which, by the way, it'd be good time to do it on this Tuesday, May 19th. Now that I'm here, I'm glad I saw that. Okay, is to use it for any late work. Now you can submit any work here on Thursday at noon, including the final share out and the required replies, because I'm going to grade it at that point. Okay, but if you want to use late passes, you've got to do that on Tuesday. Okay, now I will just late grade it without late passes. All right, so keep these things in mind. Okay, so Friday morning early is the last day because here we go. We're rolling into the very last day of the semester. Early, for those of you that know me, and some of you do, I get up very early. So if you have any questions, you need to have asked me before Friday morning because I will get up early. I'll prepare the final step. I'll grade anything that happened to be, and I will say, hey, this was actually supposed to be submitted yesterday. Okay. You and I may have to negotiate what that looks like because the idea was that it's not. But if you also have questions, it'd be great time Thursday rather than to wait until Friday to ask me any of those things. Okay. Because at that point, because if there's something weird that happened and something got missed, right, I want to make sure I make it right. But the last time to ask me about that would be early on Friday. So then on Monday, now this is after the semester's over, on the following Monday is when I start removing GitHub repos. Okay, so because I prepare for the semester that follows, the fall 2025 semester, okay, for this particular course. So I just want to give you that. So then and here's the last thing on this video actually it's not, it's next to the last, but the thing is that once you submit everything and it's graded, whatever your course grade is in Canvas, that is your course grade on your transcript. So just make sure, right, you understand that once everything's been submitted and I've graded, that's why understanding these end of the semester dates are really important, which, by the way, when you're doing your reply for the graded work, if you have a question about the end of the semester dates, you could either put it there or you could reach out to me directly. I will probably put this as an announcements post because of the importance that it has. Okay? All right. Hopefully you walk away with a better understanding. And if not, you reach out and ask for help. The last thing I will say is thank you very much for taking this class, working through the content. I hope you felt like it was worth your time. Next week, I may have a survey. My plan is actually to have a survey to ask you about your opinion about AI and these changes we're making to the program, because you're an important voice in us making these changes. So thank you for attending this class, choosing this class, completing this class. You're at week 8. You're going to complete this class. And I hope you have walked away with a new skill set. Have a great summer. Reach out whenever you want to chat with. I always enjoy talking to students about whatever they feel they want to share. All right. Talk to you. Well, maybe I won't talk to you later. Hopefully I will.